All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Shelton Hauk. I use she, her pronouns, and this is our Data and IT Alumni panel. Woo! So we have really amazing folks that want to share their experience and their time with you all today. We will first have folks just say their name and their job title and what company they work at, and then I will start adding like 7 different questions into the chat. But if you have to dip out early or you know someone else that would love to look at this panel, we will have this be recorded so they can watch this at a later time. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function and I can go in there and read your question out loud to our amazing panelists. Okay, so I'll just put into the chat the lineup and then we'll get started from there.
All right, so am I going first?
Yes, yep.
All right, yeah. Hey guys, my name is Deepak, and I'm a financial analyst. I work for Pilgrims Pride, and I worked as a financial analyst for the last 3 years.
I just let Allison in. I think you'll be able to come on.
Yep, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
perfect. Yeah, okay.
Cool.
So, sorry. If you would just say your name, your job title, and the company that you work at.
Yep. Hi everyone. My name is Allison Porter. I am a senior software engineer at Principal Financial Group in Des Moines.
Hi, my name's Chris Grycki. I'm a senior systems administrator at the University of Iowa in ITS.
Hey everyone, I'm Samantha Peterson. I am a backend software developer at Bluehouse Group, and I've been a full stack developer 2 years before that, so 3 years total as a software developer.
Hi, I'm Hayley Abbas. I'm a senior software engineer at a company called Platform Science. Sorry, that doesn't feel very natural to say because we just changed companies a few months ago, but I've been doing this for, let's see, since 2011, so 14-ish years.
How's it going? My name's Henry. I just graduated last year, and I am a junior full stack developer at IMT Software Services. It's a basically farm insurance company in Des Moines, and I've been here for I think 8 or 9 months.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here. There's so much expertise in the room, and I can't wait to like hear how you respond to all of these questions. So the first question that I have, we can go in the same order, and then for the next one, we'll go like reverse. So we'll go that way. But the first question is, can you tell us a little bit about your educational and experiential background, whether that's inside or outside of the classroom, and how did that prepare you for like the job that you have right now?
Yeah, sure, I can get started. So I graduated from the University of Iowa in 2022 with a degree in mathematics and a concentration in finance with a minor in statistics, along with a risk management and insurance certificate. So that kind of foundation helped me build a strong quantitative and analytical like skill set. And for the last 3 years, it's helped me daily as my role as a financial analyst at Pilgrims Pride for the commercial retail side of the business. For context, Pilgrims Pride is one of the largest poultry producers in the world, supplying food to major grocery stores, restaurants. I mean, we have customers like Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Popeyes, all of them. And over the last 3 years, I worked at their corporate office in Colorado, and I worked on budgeting, forecasting, revenue, and cost analysis, which helped the directors and executives make decisions about the business using this data.
Allison, can you go next, please?
Yep, sorry, I didn't know that I was second.
No, no, you're good. I'll put the list again.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Um, yes, yeah. So I graduated from the University of Iowa back in 2017. I actually graduated with a biomedical engineering degree. My focus was in bioinformatics, but I also had minors in math and computer science. Um, on the kind of the back half of my degree, I really learned to love everything about IT. And so that's kind of how I ended up at a financial services company. I wanted to stay in Iowa and so I applied to a bunch of different places and Principal ended up being the great fit for me. Um, and then a couple years ago, I actually went back and got my computer engineering degree, a master's in computer engineering. But either way, my degree from the University of Iowa ended up helping me learn the skills that were really important for my job today, the engineering skills and the coding skills that I learned as well.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for the confusion. Thank you.
Yeah. So I graduated in 2015 with a degree in computer science. So some of the general things from my educational experience that helped me, um, just generally being challenged in some of my coursework. It taught me to have patience with myself. It can be frustrating when things don't click right away. Have confidence in myself that I can overcome difficult problems. I can see them through to the end. Sometimes there's a voice of self-doubt that might say, "Oh, I don't know if I'm smart enough to solve this." But seeing through the difficult problems helped me kind of turn down the volume on that voice. And then having humility to just ask questions and ask for help. Um, don't assume the answers are supposed to come easily. So I became better about asking questions in class, staying after class to talk to professors, using office hours. Um, and I think um, that's useful because it sort of goes along with a fear about how others might perceive our maybe level of intelligence or competence, to be open about asking questions or asking for help. But I think being willing to speak up and ask questions in meetings or ask others for help, these things can have a very positive impact on the culture of the workplace. Um, and then a few specific things. I worked in the College of Public Health IT office as a student, and I learned so much through that experience. The daily interactions I had with professors and grad students and getting into their labs and helping them out and understanding the struggles that they were experiencing. Um, it helped me, connect myself to the mission of the university. And I felt a sense of pride in supporting it. Um, Another thing is I'm not sure if this is still offered, but I took the UI STEP class, which offered a certificate. That helped immensely. I think that changed my trajectory completely from an early beginning. Um, and then last thing is networking, and I could mean that in both like professional networking sense, but also computer networking. Um, so when I got my degree, computer networking was a um, class you could take. I'm sure they're still teaching a networking class, but if you can take that because you're going to use it no matter what you're doing in IT.
I graduated the University of Iowa in 2018. I majored in Spanish and I minored in human relations. So, two things that have really nothing to do with computer science. And then I moved to Spain after graduation and I taught English in Madrid and I was also an au pair. But I did take a computer science class. I had to my last year in college and I kind of fell in love with it. And I've always been a huge fan of puzzles. So when I was in Spain, I did some self-teaching on Code Academy and Khan Academy. And then when I got back to the States, I went to a 7-month program called Turing School of Software and Design, which is based here in Denver. And yeah, I fell in love with the back end side of things, and I discovered that what people said that studying another language like I did in college and studying it in Spain really helped with writing really any coding language you learn, reading any coding language you learn, because odds are in the field you're going to be working with many different languages and not just the same one your entire career.
I resonate with a lot of what everybody is saying. I think my specific degree work might be a little bit outdated compared to everybody else. Since I graduated in 2011, I was peeking at the course listings or the specialization listings at the College of Engineering recently, and it's changed a lot in the last decade and a half. But I went through the electrical engineering department had a software specialization, so that's what my education was. And the courses that I took with that gave me a lot of the experience with, hands-on coding, collaborating with other students to, you know, get fluent in writing code and making software. Um, Aside from that, I did have a few different student jobs while I was at the university that kind of helped with my soft skills that I still struggle with to this day. I also worked at the help desk in IT uh, pretty much the entire undergrad. And I did a couple of semesters of TA work and did a little bit of research assistant work to, work outside of a classroom setting and learn how to kind of collaborate with people. So that was really useful.
So I already mentioned that I graduated last spring of 2024. But my degree was in informatics. I got a double major of informatics and music, and my cognate area in informatics also, I forgot I'm wearing my informatics sweatshirt, not just for this meeting, because I'm sick and this is my comfiest one. But my cognate area was human computer interaction that had me taking a lot of like psychology classes and some UI design classes. And I took a lot of every time that I think it was called programming languages and tools, every time that was offered, always took it. I think I took that class like 3 times before. I learned like Java and C++ and C Sharp through those, but really focused on Python through a lot of my classes, and that's what I use every day in my work now. So um, it helped a lot, especially I took a class on web development that I think was also an elective. There's server side development, which is a requirement for informatics. I wish I could take that again. I'm pretty sure Inez probably still teaches that. I wish I could take that one again, knowing what I know now, and I think I would take a lot more from that. So yeah, if you haven't taken that class yet, and you want to do full stack web development, then like pay attention.
Henry, that was such a good segue to the next questions that we had too. Also, thank you all for sharing. You all are such amazing people. But what are some key skills, qualities, or experiences that helped you progress in your career? So you can either answer that one or you can answer like some of the most significant trends that you're seeing. Hayley, you talked about how you have over a decade of experience, so like what's some different things that are changing? Either or, truly up to you all, whichever one speaks to you. But we'll start with Henry and then we'll go Hayley and go up from where we started. That makes sense.
So I would say like the biggest skill that I like kind of leveraged in getting my job and every day in my job is communication. Like being able to uh, communicate complex ideas between uh, yourself and other developers or non-technical people is huge. And it's if you're able to do that well, then you're going to be good at your job. And that's also something that really shows in an interview. Like, I don't know, I think you can kind of fake it a little bit with like coding in an interview. You can't fake having like a good personality and good like communication uh, in an interview. And uh, apart from like soft skills, I think that something that I'd never really realized was that uh, big of a thing you need to be able to do is testing. Testing your code is massive. Being able to test your code and being able to debug your code efficiently. I think that a lot of your classes like don't focus on that as much. They focus on just like fundamentals of stuff and don't have you going into existing code bases and like working with stuff and not ruining everything and making sure that you are setting up the next guy to look at what you're doing and be like, okay, I know exactly what this does. So um, that's kind of a lot. So being good at talking, writing good tests for your code, writing readable code. There's another thing I kind of mentioned in there that I don't quite remember, but yeah, do all of those things.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna feel self-conscious because Henry says be good at talking. I'm not very good at it, even this many years later. But I would say probably my number one skill that I think is important for being successful in your career is the ability to give and receive constructive criticism. Um, it can be very hard, but it takes it. You can practice and get better at it, and cultivating that skill to kind of step back if you get a little bit flustered or even a little offended if somebody seems to be saying something in a mean way. Being able to take what somebody is saying and you know evaluate what to take from that is really key. I guess the other thing that I will say is I think what Henry was saying about how the classes kind of focus on one area and not another. I think a lot of your homework that you do, you write a lot of code, but you don't read a lot of code. And I think reading code is a very different skill than writing it. And if you have any chances to practice that by looking at existing code bases or comparing code with your friends, that can give you a little bit of an edge, I think.
Both Hayley and Henry said amazing things. I'll try not to repeat what they said, but I would like to say communication and soft skills have been my probably most utilized skills during my career as a software developer. Um, Learning how to articulate yourself through interviews and then also to your teammates, but then also being comfortable with admitting if you don't know something. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that deter you from asking a question or being embarrassed when your fellow students or your teachers or your boss or whoever's interviewing you. Nobody knows everything. A huge part of the job is learning. You are always going to be learning something new. So to get down on yourself that there's something you don't know and to freeze up and to maybe trip over your words a little bit and start feeling embarrassed, forget about that. As long as you are comfortable with that journey of not knowing, then you'll build all the confidence in the world and people will see that and they'll trust that, okay, you might not know how to do that, but I know that he or she or they has the ability to figure it out. So as long as you hold that confidence with you that no matter what it is, you'll be able to figure it out, I think that that skill can go a long way.
I think those are all really great answers. And would definitely agree with the skill of reading code. I did have a class that did spend time specifically on reading code, and I don't know if the value of it was widely understood by the class at the time. But wow, looking back, I'm all the time diving into source code on GitHub to solve some obscure issue, and yeah, that certainly comes in handy. Um, I'm going to say a quality that I think is extremely valuable in um, systems administrators or perhaps any IT position is curiosity. Um, it, for me, it drives me to try to understand the root cause of issues that I encounter. It drives me to pick up and evaluate new ideas. I think it helps me become a better systems thinker, to see and predict how, a complex system might have interconnections that aren't obvious. Um, I once mentored someone that would ask a lot of questions when I would solve a problem for him. Um, I'd fix something and then he'd come back to my office and ask, "Oh, how'd you do that?" Or uh, "Why did that work?" Um, and my answer was always, "Yes, I'd love to explain that. Do you have 20 minutes? Let's go find a whiteboard." Um, I think that kind of curiosity is perhaps an uncommon quality, but it's a valuable one.
Yeah, so I completely agree with everything that everyone else had said about qualities. I definitely find them all really important in my job as well. I'm going to focus on the other question about what are some of the most significant trends currently shaping my industry. Uh, this is definitely a buzzword right now, but it definitely is affecting my job, generative AI. It is affecting my job every single day in many different ways. As I mentioned, I work at Principal, which is a financial services company. And so one of the ways it's impacting my job is through coding. We use GitHub Copilot. And, a really specific example of that in the last year was I was learning how to code a new language, TypeScript. And using Copilot really helped me pick up on that syntax really quickly, the code completion parts of that. Um, Another example is, Principal has really kind of, uh, adopted this generative AI, trend. Is we developed our kind of in-house like own tool similar to like a chat GPT type tool specifically for our internal workforce. And that has been a really fun, easy way to ask questions specifically towards like the financial services community. And then the third way is within our own code itself, we've used generative AI. So one example is we currently have a model that uh, we are working on that will be able to help us detect fraud in some of our transactions that we do. So it's definitely taken over the workforce. I will say that for sure in the past like couple of years. And I don't see that changing.
So for me, it's a few key things. I think analytical thinking, adaptability, and communication. So my math and finance background at Iowa helped me to think critically and work with complex data. But what's really helped me is the ability to translate that data into meaningful business insights, right? So in a fast-paced environment, like food production, adaptability is very critical. And so you're often reacting to changes in the supply chain, volatility, shifting market demands. And so perhaps most importantly is being able to clearly communicate with teams across finance, plant operations, leadership has been a total game changer. So the technical skills are valuable, but how you connect and collaborate matters just as much. So I was able to do this first by understanding the business model and the industry and asking questions about why we do what we do. So that's really important. And I think in today's world, I know Allison talked about this as well. It's how to communicate with AI, right? So if you understand that and you can make it do what you want it to do, it's very important. So you can get the most out of it, which translates into being able to find process improvements in your business.
Absolutely. Thank you all for like the great qualities, the skills, how you can see the trends, especially with AI. Thank you all so much. The next question that I have is posting it. What's one big challenge in your role and how can students prepare for it? So we kind of talked a little bit about how AI is helpful, but I really would love to know from this group too, is it ever a hindrance? Is it a challenge? Or what are some challenges that these students maybe never thought about in terms of AI, data and IT? And we can start from the top again.
I think AI, in terms of challenges, I think one of the most challenging things, I think I mentioned this already, is learning how to communicate with it. Because a lot of the times you can get wrong answers from AI, right? So it's important not to be 100% dependent on what you get. And it could be from ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot. It's important, one, to verify, test out what the output. And I think once you do that for a couple of months, few years, you will understand how to talk with AI to get the exact result you want.
Yeah, I completely agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. Um, in another vein, a different challenge, probably that's been one of the biggest challenges I've had since I've started, is preparing yourself to is how I would phrase this, burnout, basically. Um, it's in the first few years of your career, you'll probably notice this, like you have to kind of learn about what your boundaries are. It's super easy to um, get a bunch of work and you're super excited about your new career. And so you end up working hours and hours and hours, and then your work-life balance gets out of whack. And it's all fine at first, but then a few months go by and you kind of realize, man, I'm really exhausted. And you definitely feel that burnout hit you pretty quickly. And so that's something that I think in the first like couple years of your career, like to really watch out for and to learn how to set those boundaries for yourself. Uh, what do you consider a good work-life balance? And work with your leaders and everything to make sure that you don't cross that boundary.
Yeah. So I would agree with everything that's been said on AI so far. I like to frame it as just another tool in my kit. Um, so I've used it at times to write emails that maybe it's just notifications about a maintenance window, and it helps me organize the information. Um, Sometimes I've written it, or I've used it to write templates, like infrastructure as code templates, and it may be enough to get me 70% or 80% of the way there. Maybe it fills out some boilerplate, and I can kind of massage it into what I need it to do. Um, but yeah, you do have to watch out for the hallucinations. Maybe decides that there's a property that doesn't really exist on this. Or I've seen it pull in answers from Stack Overflow that are like 10 years old, and it's, giving me deprecated security settings, things like that. So you have to be responsible and watch out for that if you're going when you use it. Um, and then another part is just remembering to use it. Sometimes the other day I was converting policy written in JSON to YAML, and I spent about 20 minutes trying to get it right, and then realized, oh wait, I can put this into Copilot, and in 20 seconds it printed out a perfect answer, and like, okay, yep, now I'm done with this. I can move on to something that's more interesting now. Um, uh, I think one big challenge um, is time management. So there's a lot of competing priorities to manage at times. There's balancing daily operational tasks, long-term project work that needs to get done, keeping current on technology and trends so we don't fall behind, preparing for and attending weekly meetings, making time to build relationships both internally with my team and externally. Um, it's surprising how fast a week can just fly by. So I think it's important to practice being intentional about how we use our time. And that can be really challenging. I know it is for me at times. I make a practice on Monday mornings of trying to plan my week ahead and see what's coming up. Ask myself, what are my priorities? What are some things that I want to work on? Um, I'll block off some time on my schedule here and there to work on those things. And, at the end of the week, try to reflect on how it went. The point is try to, it's not to, plan out every second of your day, but just try to make time for the things that are important so that they don't get preempted by the immediate.
I would say a challenge with AI specifically in the companies I've worked for is finding your balance with it. Don't let it replace your fundamentals, but be adaptable to it. There are some times where I use Claude and I think, okay, Claude is the smartest person. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're so helpful. And the next day, I'm like, this is the worst code I've ever seen written. What happened in the last 24 hours? What happened to you? But you have to have those fundamentals to be able to recognize that. Otherwise, you're just kind of copying and pasting code you don't really understand. And especially when you are a junior, a question you're going to be asked a lot by someone who's reviewing your code is, oh, why did you make this choice to go this route? Why did you make this choice to write it like this instead of this? You have to be able to answer that question. So you really want to make sure you're understanding every line of code you're writing, even if you use a tool like AI to assist you with it. So you just find your balance. And then also, I would say, as a woman in tech, speak up for yourself. I talked a lot about soft skills, and it's really important to connect with your team and your bosses and your company and kind of display your communication skills and be a wonderful teammate. But it's also okay to put the hammer down sometimes. It's okay to say, actually, I wrote that code, or actually, I said that 5 minutes ago, or hey, I actually think that, this idea might be a little bit more streamlined and efficient. Why don't we try that? So I think there's a balance in that as well.
I struggle to come up with an answer that hasn't already been said. Um, I guess I will echo what Allison said about burnout. It can be really hard sometimes to admit that you're hitting a wall. Um, I know a lot of people in the industry suffer with imposter syndrome, and you can start to get into this vicious cycle of, I didn't get done what I thought I would get done in this many hours, so I'll just work a few more hours, and then you exhaust yourself, and it just gets worse and worse. So it remember that a lot of people have the same struggles, and it can be important to have people around you that you trust, that you can open up to about these things. In terms of how to prepare for it as a student now, I assume that you've had issues with having too much work and getting really exhausted and struggling with that. And having those conversations with people and reminding yourself that it's okay and you're human is, I think, the best thing you can do.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of follow up with a similar thing. That is kind of the biggest challenge for me, especially as a junior developer. The imposter syndrome is crazy. There's like, all these other people on my team have been here for years. My boss is like the next step to the CEO of the company, and he wrote all of our code 15 years ago. Everything is like his baby, basically. And so like just having that like fear of like, oh man, I'm in way over my head, or I look at a new project that I'm supposed to take on. I'm like, I have no idea where I'm even going to start with this. But I think there's two things you can kind of do with that is just train your brain to be like, okay, actually this is fun. This is fun that this is like really challenging. This is fun that like this is a high stakes thing. I had a project last week that my boss came up to me and he was just like, hey, so this like SQL query and this like post save hook that you're adding to this thing that's going to use that. Um, a lot of money, a lot of like calculations are going to be going into this. And so if it's wrong, then it's, big, big issues. And so instead of like going, oh no, you kind of got to be like, okay, you know what, game on. This is going to be fun. But the other thing that I kind of try to do is, as you say in basketball, you leave it on the court. Like, you know, I I can only do so much in 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and that is all the time that I devote to my job. Like once the clock hits 4:30, or whenever I get done for the day, I go home and I'm like, this is not occupying any more of my brain for today. There's going to be more work tomorrow, and the day after that, the day after that. I don't have to, you know, take this home with me.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much, from AI to time management to literally having that work-life balance, sticking up for yourself. Thank you all for what you were saying. On the end of challenging, now we're gonna say, what's the most exciting part? What do you like the most about your position? Um, we can start. I mean, we'll do it the same way. Henry, kick it off for us.
Yes. So, the work that I do is really rewarding. Like and I'm sure a lot of you already throughout your computer science or tech thing, you're in this right now because like you fixed your grandma's TV and she was just like, you're a genius, you know everything about technology, and that made you feel good, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm like helping people with this skill that I have. And then you like actually learned real skills that isn't like plugging in an HDMI thing. And it makes it totally worth it. Not only like every other Friday when you get your paycheck, but like throughout the week when someone's like, hey, like this button that you added to this website is awesome. I've been waiting for this button for so long. Like it gives you a feeling inside that is money can't buy. Um, and to have a feeling that's like, okay, I'm good at what I do and it's helping people, uh, is always like really makes you feel good.
And I guess for me personally, I I just like writing code and reading code and working with people on interesting problems, and it's just fun. Obviously, there's always going to be a little bit of the corporate nonsense that there's parts of your job that aren't very fun, but the nitty-gritty of getting to solve interesting problems with talented people it it's just fun. I don't know.
So I work for a small consultancy that's based out of Vermont. So we have quite a few client projects that we work on. And the one that I get to work on is the Alzheimer's Association. So every day I feel very fulfilled. I feel like what I'm doing is helping people. I feel like it's impactful, and that is really something that drives me every day. Second of all, I love to code. As I mentioned before, I love puzzles. I love languages, and what a perfect mix. Backend puzzles, I mean, it's perfect. I really feel like I wake up every day and I'm like, how did I get here? How did I get this job? How am I doing what I love? But it wasn't always like that. I mean, my third favorite thing is the company I work for. The people really care about each other. They care about a lot of similar things that I care about, similar values. And so I get to go to work with people who make me feel uh, cared for, make me feel like, burnout, it's not worth it. Don't do it. They encourage you to take care of yourself, and then get the work done when you can, as best as you can. And everyone works together as a team. And when you're working for a company that you really feel like you fit, you'll know. And so I really encourage people to, not settle. Not obviously, no job is perfect. As Hayley said, there's going to be some corporate things that aren't so fun, but that doesn't mean you have to settle for a toxic boss or a couple, butting heads of coworkers, or no project management, or no ticketing system. There are companies out there that will put you first and see you for who you are and see your potential. So you just got to go find them and don't give up until you do.
Um, I think what I um, find most exciting is kind of working at the edge of my knowledge, where I can start learning new things, and then at the same time be putting it into practice. Um, like, it can be satisfying to have a tight feedback loop where you're learning something and then applying it, and then advancing kind of the edge of your knowledge at the same time. It can feel like watching that last puzzle piece click into place sometimes, and it's very satisfying. Um, and as other people have said, interesting problems. Um, I especially get excited about problems that contradict my existing understanding of how something works. Because the more it contradicts my understanding, the more I need to understand it. Um, and then designing or augmenting a complex system and then observing it work to my specification, that is another deeply satisfying experience. For the important, I think it's using my skills and my time to advance research and education at the university with the goal of benefiting society. That feels very important to me. And then it's also having the opportunity to mentor others and watch them grow and develop.
So I'm gonna kind of echo what the others said. I am definitely someone who has always loved learning, continuous learning my whole life, and working in IT definitely fulfills that. Um, you're working, you come to work every single day and you always are learning something new. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many years you've been working. Um, so that's like one thing that's, kept me going. And then I'm also going to echo the importance of finding value in what you do, specifically. There's a lot of different industries that you can work in IT, and maybe your first choice, maybe your first job doesn't fit your values, and it's okay to jump around until you do. I've worked at Principal for the past 7 years, and I've counted myself lucky to find a place that fits my values, in that I specifically work in the retirement business, and so every day I'm working towards helping people save money for retirement. And so I work with customers that, from the beginning, when they're just starting to save money, all the way up through to the time that they get to retire. And it's so awesome to be able to see those people that we've worked with over 30 years uh, finally get to retire and use the money that we've helped them save over that time.
I think what excites me most is the impact that data can have. So in my role, the financial insights I provide aren't just numbers. They influence how resources are allocated, how risks are managed, how strategy is shaped. And it's rewarding really to see your analysis drive real decisions that affect operations, people, and performance. And I think something that really excites me is having a lasting impact. So last year, my company had an SAP migration, and I was still learning the inner workings of SAP and a lot of the business as well. But I took on the responsibility of pretty much building all of our financial reporting files from scratch and automating all of them. So I can confidently say, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, that all the files that I built are the foundation for what will be used for financial reporting and budgeting with my company.
Wow, you all are so cool, from like the personal values to company values to you. I can just tell that you have a passion for this, and it just really makes my heart warm as a career coach. Lynn is also a career coach that's on the Zoom today for data and IT, and I know I'm not the only one, but okay, so we have two more cues left and only 13 minutes, folks, so here we go. It is, what's one piece of advice? So, knowing that students are in a similar position to where you were when you first embarked on your career journey, what is one piece of advice you can share with them? And we can popcorn it too. Just one piece of advice.
I can go ahead and start.
Okay,
So
perfect.
So here's the thing. You don't have to have everything figured out to make progress, right? So when I was in undergrad, I thought I needed a perfect plan, but in reality, your path will evolve, right? So and that's okay, right? So focus on learning broadly, building skills, and saying yes to opportunities that stretch you and put you out of your comfort zone, right? So careers in data and IT are really diverse, and your interests are going to change over time. Stay curious, stay proactive, and don't be afraid to pivot into something that like something new that excites you. Right. So the mistake I made early in my career, in my role, was I wasn't asking the why behind the reports that I was working on. And once I did, I was able to contribute a lot more to my company. And so ask as many questions as you can and make as many mistakes as you can early in your career, because you can afford it when you're that new into the workforce, right? And this was one of the most important things that's helped me grow within my role in the company. So when you join the workforce, the first thing you should do is try to understand the business and the industry and the role you're in, and then that is really going to help you grow in your role.
I completely agree with everything you just said. Your career is not going to be like a straight line. There's going to be times when maybe you make a lateral move, or maybe you decide you want to completely change industries or completely change, specializations in IT, and have to, take a step back, and that's okay. And then I also echo like the not be afraid. Something that I wished I knew right away, but I had to learn really quickly, is to learn about make sure I'm asking questions. And something that someone said to me that has really stuck with me over the years is don't be afraid to ask the question, because most likely, if no one else, you know because you're probably in a room with someone else who probably has the same question, and maybe they don't feel comfortable asking it either. So if that question comes to you, feel free to ask it. All like I said, IT is a space where we're always continuously learning, and so it's a great place to be curious and ask questions.
I think my piece of advice will be centered more around your job search after graduation. I can't stress enough how you need to remind yourself as often as possible that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It will happen. You might have to do a couple of odd jobs or something else, for a year, months, maybe 2 years, whatever. Some of you will get a job right away. Some of you will get an internship right away. Some of you, it might be a while. That is okay. That is normal. The market is not, super great right now, but it's also not the worst we've ever seen. You're all going to be fine. It's a matter of when, not if. Don't give up. If you really want this and this is the career for you, you will make it happen, and you know that deep down. So just don't let the interview process, no matter how long it is, get you down or cause you to lose hope.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
My advice is that there will be a time in your career where you make a big mistake. One time I recursively deleted the wrong directory. I thought that was, the end of the world. I walked into my colleague's office, head in my hands, like, I can't believe what I just did. What am I going to do? Well, it turns out that's why we have backups. It was not the big deal I thought it was immediately after. So really, my lesson is, when you make a mistake, own up to it. Just be direct and be honest. The sky is not falling, the world's not going to end. Um, as long as you're honest, everything will turn out all right in the end.
I wanted to share one piece of advice that somebody gave me early in my career that it took me a long time to kind of internalize. And he told me that emotional intelligence is a skill that you can learn. I always thought of myself as a little bit dumb in that area. I'm not very good at understanding people, but getting out of your comfort zone and flexing that muscle and learning how to be kind and understand people is really important, maybe the most important.
For me, biggest piece of advice I can give really is building off of what Samantha said. Like, you are going to get a job. It's a matter of when. And what I'd like to add on to that is use your time wisely while you're looking for a job. I looked for a job for months, and this is the perfect time in your life to prepare your adult life for what it's going to be. So build really good habits, get rid of your bad ones. Like, I started going to the gym. I started like doing my laundry more often because I'm like, man, I got really behind for months on that in college. So like, just take the time to make sure when you do get a job, you're like, got your adult life going, and like you've got things organized, like, and that will also give you, a way to stay sane as you are applying to everything you see on Indeed. Like, I also would recommend like be really present on LinkedIn. Like, that's what the future of hiring and recruiting is, at least from my experience, is LinkedIn. So let yourself stay sane. You know, watch some good TV shows you've been meaning to watch, and don't worry about it. And take your time to uh, not be a loser.
Thank you all so much for answering these questions. I love how Samantha said not if, but when. And my last question was like, how do you continue to professionally develop and find mentorship opportunities? And truly, folks, I reached out to the majority of the panelists today through LinkedIn or from someone that I knew. So if you would like to find ways to network with people and build up your social capital, you can reach out to Lynn or I. Panelists, if you would like to be a mentor, student were to reach out, you're more than welcome to email me afterwards for that. But I want to make sure I get to some of the cues in the chat before 7, because I also want to be cognizant of your time. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, let's see. We'll start from the beginning. I am pursuing the networking career, especially network engineer. I'm still learning CCNA in order to have a good advantage, but the networking class in U Iowa that I'm taking does not seem very practical. It's generally theoretical. How can I prove upon myself? Another question to start percolating is how to not fully depend on Chat GPT. This person is learning HCL code at the moment with limited sources of internet.
I think for that, ChatGPT, I mean, it's a great way to learn for sure, right? But I don't think you should be 100% dependent on it. So, I use Coursera a lot, and through Coursera right now, I'm taking a Python programming class, and it's taught by this professor from the University of Michigan. It's a great class, and so I feel like there are a lot of resources online. It's just finding them is going to take some time, but once you do find a good one, I think it's going to help you out a lot.
Absolutely. And this is a question that a lot of students have asked me. So, if they did not find an internship during their undergraduate experience, what should they do after graduation to build up stuff for their resumes? Should they be looking for internships after graduation or more full-time job? What do you all think?
I I have kind of a funny story on that.
Yeah.
I applied to the same company. Well, I have applied to several companies, but my first choice internship, I applied after my sophomore year and then again after my junior year, and both times I was rejected. Um, and then my senior year, I took a class with a professor who really saw something in me, and he hired me, and it ha so happened that he had a friend at that company that I'd wanted to be an intern at, and got me another interview, and that's where I ended up working my first full-time job. Um, I guess the moral of that story is don't give up, um, and find ways to network with the people in the industry. Um, I think for me the difficulty was I'm neurodivergent, and in a traditional job interview setting, talking myself up and telling them how great I am feels like lying. And if you struggle in that sort of a setting, being able to work with your classmates and professors and TAs in a setting where they can see you work and they can talk you up a little bit is can help if you're struggling there.
For sure. That was awesome. Thank you all so much. I think that was the last question. Lynn, is that right? Give me a thumb.
I can try to tackle the network engineering question.
Yay! Okay, cool.
Now, I am not a network engineer, but um, I I think there's probably going to be a lot of value in learning that the theory behind things. Um, Maybe it could help to um, talk to the professor, like any professor you have that's I guess the professor that's teaching you the networking class, maybe discuss the concerns you have about it being more practical. Maybe there's an opportunity to like job shadow a network engineer, or get an internship where you're working as a network engineer. Maybe some opportunities for hands-on work there. Another thing I've done in the past when I was starting my career as a sysadmin was get some cheap uh, server equipment off of eBay and just build a home lab and experiment with things. So that was another opportunity I had to kind of fiddle with things, even if it wasn't part of my job responsibility at the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris. And Henry, do you want to just like talk about it for a second what you just put in the comment
Yes.
section?
So,
Then we'll
another thing you can do to get experience that is like meaningful, and get like some projects that you can put on your resume and talk about is, and I wish I would have done this more. I still can't do it more. Is contribute to open source on GitHub. There are a lot of different ways that you can find open source projects, and there are like there will be like flags on problems on GitHub that's just like, hey, I need someone to fix this bug on this open source thing, and you can go, you can fix it, you can get experience like working in a real life code base, and get also experience with Git, like branching and forking. That's something you don't really get a ton of in school. So um, that's a really big thing that can help you out a lot. And another thing that I wanted to say also is, for coders, there are meetups a lot. There's this one that I go to. It's Chicago Code and Coffee. It's downtown Chicago. If anyone's from there, there's meetups of this kind monthly everywhere. There's one in Des Moines that I have not gone to yet, but that is a excellent way to meet people in real life and um, you know get a real person to talk to you about your experiences rather than get a rejection email that's automated at like 3 a.m. So best of luck, everybody.
absolutely. Well, I'm gonna end the recording right now unless anybody has any last things they want to say.
I think it's a piece of advice with that is always prioritize staying curious. So whether, that's through online courses, internal training, or just asking thoughtful questions, think about how you can make your work more efficient and then learn the tools to help you achieve that, right? So I've always wanted to keep learning. And at this point in my career, I actually chosen to leave the workforce next month to go pursue my master's at Cornell University. So that's something. So take risks. That's something that, right now I'm very comfortable. I'm in a good job. I'm up for promotion very soon, but I'm still leaving all that because I want to learn more, because I'm more focused on the long-term goal than on a short-term growth. So always keep that in your mind. And for mentorship, I always thought it was supposed to be like a very formal thing that you ask someone, but it's really not, right? So I just reach out to people that I admire within the company and through networking events. And a lot of the growth has come from informal conversations with managers and execs in my company and also friends who've gone into different industries, just learning about their industry as well. So mentorship doesn't have to be formal. It's about building authentic relationships with people who are willing to share their experiences.
If I could just add before you stop.
You betcha. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. This is to the question about relying on ChatGPT. I don't know anything about network engineering, but I think it just depends on how you're using ChatGPT. I think if you're using it as a learning source and not necessarily just a coding source, that's perfectly fine. If you're having trouble finding resources anywhere, like I use YouTube a lot, and Coursera, but if I can't find anything, I use Claude, which I recommend. I highly recommend Claude over ChatGPT. This is not sponsored, but Claude is great. I'm always asking Claude, like, explain this to me like I'm 5, or come up with a couple exercises that I can do and then grade me on it, and then tell me how I could have been more efficient. I will use Claude as my teacher or a textbook. So I think it just depends on how you're using ChatGPT or whatever you choose to use as a resource. But there's so many different ways you can use it, not just depending on code, but definitions, terms, exercises, whatever you need. And then just to emphasize networking, I used to feel so icky about the word networking. I felt weird about reaching out to people and asking to talk, asking for their time, because technically it felt like I wanted something from them and it just didn't feel right. That is all out the window. People are super happy to talk to you. And guess what? People love to talk about themselves. So if you reach out to people on LinkedIn, reach out to the VP of tech, reach out to the CTO. No one is too big to reach out, because I've done that before. People I know have done that before. And people, if you just say, hey, I'd love to pick your brain about this. I'd love to pick your brain about your experience. They love to help and to tell you about it and to talk about it. So just don't be afraid to network. Reach out to me. I put my LinkedIn in the channel. Just, really don't be afraid of that. So utilize that as much as you can. Oh, and do some fun projects either by yourself or with your friends to add to your resume, because if you want to talk about that in your interview and they see that you're passionate about it, and the odds are, since you were passionate about it and you wrote it, you know it like the back of your hand, you're probably going to have a lot of confidence talking about that, and that's going to showcase a lot of your skills. So get together with your friends and code together.
Absolutely. What mitochondrias? What powerhouses of the cell? Thank you all so much for coming today and talking about your experiences. I just appreciate you so much, and I'm gonna stop the recording now.